Hello FTMTelevision viewers, it is week 11. This week's topic is child abuse. It's a very heavy topic, but I feel that it is important to discuss anyways. Maybe more for myself than anything. I just want to forewarn people, if you have been through similar things in your life, you might find this video to be a little bit triggering, so I would suggest you to not watch it. I don't want to cause any issues or anything. I know that sometimes when I watch videos or read about similar experiences to what I had, I get triggered myself. So just to forewarn you. So, child abuse. I unfortunately had a lot of experience with it myself, and the reason why I really wanted to do this topic is because I feel that it's important for me to talk about it. My personal opinion is that any form of physical punishment to a child is completely unacceptable. I don't think that spanking is acceptable. I don't think that a tap on the cheek is acceptable. Anything that inflicts pain on a child is not acceptable. There are still people in North America who still believe that, spanking is a perfectly acceptable way to discipline a child, and I don't think that it is at all. Even the tiniest little bit of physical punishment can be completely traumatizing for a child. It makes me feel sick to know that there are still people who think that it's okay. And it really bothers me when people say that it's okay. There are a number of different kinds of child abuse, not just physical. Some ways in which people don't even realize are abuse. Neglect, where the child wants to talk about their day and you just kind of brush them off. Or when you invalidate everything your kid says. Your kid is excited about something, the parent brushes it off as nothing. Or a child has a concern about something and the parent tells them that they're stupid for having that concern, or being patronizing or condescending. There are so many different ways that you can abuse a child. I'm not going to say that any way is less than another, because they can all affect a child very deeply. Can all traumatize a child very deeply. It shapes you into who you are. It can really mess a person up in their adult years, even the tiniest little bit of abuse. What I endured as a child was pretty much every type of abuse you could possibly think of. My mom, she wasn't necessarily ready to be a mother. Sometimes when women are not ready to be, when girls are not ready to be mothers, when their child is born and they're a baby, they don't know how to handle the crying, and they shake the baby to try to stop the crying, violently sometimes, because they're impatient. They don't realize their own strength. They don't realize what that can do to a kid. But I was a shaken baby. My biological father later told me, in tears, so I believe him, that I was shaken as a baby, tossed around. My mom just couldn't handle being a mom. She didn't know how to parent a child, an infant. She got impatient. She wasn't necessarily mentally well, and she would shake me to get me to stop crying, toss me around. She'd use me as a pawn in her relationship with my father. So it's just another example of child abuse. lot of verbal abuse. Holy crap, was there ever a lot of that. I got it from my mom, from my stepdad, and from my biological father as well. My biological father never physically struck me. He was very against physical punishment of children, so that was a good thing, I guess. But he unfortunately didn't realize how damaging words can be on a child. So he was, well, he's a bodybuilder, and he was on a quest for perfection, and he just expected everybody else to be perfect. And I was, I guess, 11, 12 years old. He started in on me about my weight, and I got an eating disorder because of that. And I used to say things like, you have to take the skin off the chicken. It's too fattening. If you sit in front of the television too long, you're gonna blow up like a balloon. And there was one line that really stuck with me to this day. I was 18, and he was constantly getting at me for my weight. I was a bit overweight at that time. I asked him, "Dad, do you not think I'm beautiful?" And of course, I was still living as a girl at the time, and he goes, "Yes, Dawn, of course you're beautiful, but you could be so much better." So, I mean, I know he meant well, but still, I mean, I don't think that was appropriate, you know, to say to a teenage girl. I mean, girls have trouble with self-esteem as it is, you know, without their parents starting in on them. I experienced a lot of physical abuse. My mother, it was her and my stepdad. She was very religious and thought that I was possessed, and she struck me physically and shook me and things like that, and she'd say really horrible things while doing it, like, "In the name of Jesus Christ, get the fuck out of my daughter." No, I was eating dinner with a family, and I think I was playing with my food. We had these chicken nuggets that kind of looked like they were shaped like dinosaurs or chickens or whatever, and I was just playing with them, you know. My stepdad, he goes, "That's gross," or "Stop being gross," or something like that, and I'm like, and I was being sassy. I said, "Well, that is the first part of my last name," because I was currently going by his last name, which is Grossman, Grossman, and he was pissed, I guess, very protective of his last name. He just slapped me right across the face. I've been dragged by the ear, slapped, pushed into walls. I've had wooden spoons. I even had one broken over my leg once, because she spanked me so hard with it. I was choked so badly one time by my mother that I had a vein-like bruise on my neck, and I had to come up with excuses as to what it came from, you know. They also neglected me and invalidated me. Oh God, did they ever invalidate me. Everything was, "Don't bug me, I'm living my life, go away, child." A lot of verbal abuse. Holy crap, was there ever a lot of that. It was bad. There's just so many things. There was never any reason to do that stuff, and they just did it anyway. Like it was nothing. Like it was justified. And it wasn't okay. I mean, the kind of abuse that I'm talking about that isn't okay isn't necessarily just this horrific stuff, you know, like what happened to me, but I'm talking about any kind. It's not acceptable whatsoever. It just isn't, you know. you can try and say that a smack on a child's bum will help them to remember that they won't, to remember not to do what they did, but there are better ways, there are other ways to teach a child not to do these things, there are other ways. Don't resort to that type of thing. It can really destroy a child, and it sticks with you for pretty much your whole life. I'm never gonna get rid of those images in my head. It kind of destroyed me. I still have flashbacks to this day. And the worst part is that when I try to talk to them about it, they brush it off like it didn't happen. So that sucks. When you want closure and you just want them to acknowledge that it happened, and they basically brush it off like it was nothing, so I don't understand why you're making such a big deal out of it. Or, I don't remember doing that. That's the worst. Yeah. There's no excuse for what they did. There is no justification. You can't justify something like that. I was a kid, It may have been really difficult to deal with as a child or as a teenager, but there is no reason I should have been treated the way that I was treated. Especially because of the abuse I experienced in my life. I am very anti any form of child abuse. This is why I'm afraid to have kids. I'm scared that I will make the same mistake my parents made. I really want to have children, but at the same time I'm really worried that I'm gonna end up doing the same shit. I've rambled on for a very long time, sorry about that. But yeah, I just felt it was something very important to discuss.